Hey scrappy people, Tracy Reed here today, coming at you with a process video in my Life Crafted album from our Cincinnati trip. And you can see that I already have my background pre-designed in Photoshop. Now I wanted to talk about that for a second. Today I decided to start in Photoshop because really Photoshop is my first love. And there are just some things that are easier to do in Photoshop than on paper, or at least easier for me to do. And one of those things is to create this beautiful mixed media layered background using the paint and the scatters and the stitches and the scallops from the digital kit. So that is what I did. I started there and then worked my way to paper. So you can see that I have 4 photos that I'm going to be incorporating onto this layout, and I have created tags out of the 3x4 patterned cards from the collection. I forgot that I wanted to mount that butterfly photo on the butterfly paper, duh. I chose 4 different colors so that they would stand out from each other and create not necessarily a rainbow across the page, because obviously I didn't do them in rainbow order, but just some variation across the page. I'm also using the tags from the sticker sheets, and I think it's just the sticker sheets. Might be digital embellishments, but I'm pretty sure it's just the sticker sheets. I'm using the tags as not for the design that they are, but just for some white space behind all of these colorful tags. So this one has little bees on it, which you'll be able to see the hexagon still, but the other one has words on it that I'm going to cover up because it was just for the white tag effect and not for the words that are on the tag. I'm being very precise with where I'm putting these tags down because I'm trying to make sure that you can see the bits and pieces of the paint and all of the goodness that I put behind these photos. So I'm making sure that everything is low enough to see the majority of it. But I also want some visual interest going on above that printed mixed media. So I'm putting things down like that black and white striped frame that is really cute. And that sort of draws your eyes to that corner as well so that you can focus in on all of the cuteness that's going on behind there. So I've got these 2 photos down. Now I need to repeat with the photos on this side. So I liked the way that the white tag was sort of underneath one of the photos on the other side. So I'm going to repeat that on this side, putting it underneath that tag. And then I'm going to repeat the circular frame as well. And this frame is from the digital kit. I did, while I was in the digital kit making this background, I decided to go ahead and print out some of the embellishments from the digital kit too. The difference between the digital kit and the sticker sheets is always that the sticker sheets come on printed or printable through PDF files, and they don't have any texture as far as like faux chipboard or epoxy textures that are typically used in digital scrapbooking to emulate real life scrapbooking. But a lot of times the embellishments in the digital kit that are not available anywhere else, they are just as printable and just as fun to use as the sticker sheets and the stamps and all of that. So I like to dig in there and find things in there to use as well. So I decided to go all in on the birds and the bees theme with the hexagons from the sticker sheets. There are a few wordy hexagons and a few pattern hexagons. So I'm going to create 2 different clusters that are sort of repetitive and frame in my photos. So I printed, there were also journaling ones. So I pre-printed my journaling on 2 of the journaling labels too, so that I wouldn't have to write it, because you can see that I put quite a bit of journaling in those 2 little hexagons. There's no way in my handwriting that I would have been able to fit all those words on those hexagons, so I just pre-printed them. And now I'm going to stick them down over some of the dead space in this photo, and then over some of the dead space in the other photo as well. You can see that I like to create a mirror effect, or a sort of symmetrical effect. What do they call it? It's not symmetry because it's obviously not perfect, but it's like opposite symmetry we've got that going on with the circular frames, and now with the hexagons as well, where they're doing the same thing in opposite corners. Decided to get out my liquid glue for these tinier things. So I did print these stickers at a smaller scale because I knew I wanted to use a lot of them, and so I needed to print them at they're all about 75% instead of 100% scale. So all of the flowers and the birds and the bees, well, there's no birds, the butterflies and the bees. But I did go with sort of a birds and the bees vibe as a tongue-in-cheek reference to the state historic site we're at, which is called Big Bone Lick. On our way to Cincinnati for the concert that we were going to, we passed on the highway a sign for Big Bone Lick, and I was like, oh, that's definitely, we can't not stop somewhere called Big Bone Lick. With my teenage son, of course, because at heart I am also a teenage boy, so it works. So on the way back, we stopped at Big Bone Lick, which actually turned out to be a really cute historic site where mammoths and giant sloths used to come. There was a big salt lick, so they used to come and congregate around this salt lick, and so there were lots of bones found in that area, so that is why it is named the way it is. Lots of big bones were found at the salt lick, but it's much funnier to just go with the name and pretend it's something it's not. So that's kind of what we were doing. We took a picture with the sign, and then my son noticed that all of the speed limit signs said 19, which is such a weird number for a speed limit sign, so we had to take a picture with that. And then we have a photo of, there was this gorgeous bush with just dozens of these beautiful butterflies and bees, bumblebees on it, so I took a picture of that. Actually, I have some really cool video of them flittering and flying around. And then the last photo is of one of the little attractions with the mammoth and the giant sloth sinking into the dirt. You can see my son in the background making a face. Just some fun photos that kind of summed up that trip that we only stopped for 15-20 minutes. So it didn't deserve a lot of layouts, but it deserves the highlight reel, which is what this page is. So anyway, because of the tie-in with both the butterflies in the photo and also the whole birds and the bees concept with the name of the park, I thought that the on the go and going slow collection worked really well for these photos, and also the colors worked really well too. So that is what I went with. And now the last thing I'm doing is I'm sticking down these butterflies on pop dots so that there's a little bit of depth, a little bit of height to this page. I can't do the same with the bees because they are just too small, but we're just going to put them down. Then I'm going to cut this page in half. Sometimes I start with 2 pages, sometimes I cut them in half. I normally will cut them in half after I am done doing the page or midway through the page if they span, or the photos or the papers or whatever span the page in this way, so it's more collage like. That way I can put the whole thing together and then cut it at the end so that I get that collage vibe without having to fight across the cut in the page. So you can see that I stuck down the edge of the tag that I knew would pop up, but I did not stick down the photo, so I had to reapply. Now I'm going to have to put holes in this page, which can be hard to do when you have a lot of paper layers, but because I printed those paper layers in the background, it's actually just one layer of paper, even though it looks like multiple layers of paper, so I could easily punch holes this time around. The only struggle I had were with the tag overlap in the center. Last thing I want to do is add in some string. I was going to maybe do a couple different colors of string, but I decided to go with this yellow baker's twine instead. I thought it would give it the cute pop of color that it needed and just add that little bit of something something to my page. I'm going to add once I can get this one tied, I'm going to add a bow to each one of these tags, the holes that are showing. So I think there's 3 in total where the holes are showing. And then I'm going to, what am I going to do? I feel like I'm done, but I must not be done. I'm done. So I'm going to call it good. If you enjoyed this video, I'd love it if you give it a thumbs up. If you're new here, go ahead and subscribe. I would love to have you. If you don't already, you can follow me on Instagram. I'm at Traci M. Reed. I'd love to see you over there as well. There is a link to the On the Go and Going Slow collection in the description box below, which is 50% off for the next 2 days if you are watching this video when it goes live. All right, I will see you next time. Thank you.